GitHub Star before?
So I was Star of the Year. Sorry, I was GitHub Star about a year ago, and there's about 11 or 12 of us there. Now there's about, I think, 35 or so. And then at the end of last year, so in December, I won GitHub Star of the Year. So it's kind of like 2 awards. And so, yeah, GitHub Star of the Year, it's like 1 out of 55 million people on GitHub. So my mind is still like trying to comprehend that.
That's really cool. So what I think makes you unique, you said there are a lot of people doing open source. What makes you unique is that you are also very vocal about open source. You do videos, you have your own channel. By the way, the link to the Eddie's channel is in the description. Check it out. Actually, Eddie has another YouTube channel with shorts that are like TikToks or something, right?
Yeah, code kind of TikTok ones. Yes, absolutely. And you can get to that from my YouTube channel. So I'm experimenting with that, and let me know what people want, what you want to see, what you think, etc. I'm always open to suggestions. And actually, today I'm doing my first community video. So I'm trying to experiment giving more community shout outs. So anyone watching, if you've learned something new recently, just write down some bullet points on how to follow those steps or any tips. And I'm actually starting to make videos for using community content, and I give those people a shout out. So I'm doing the first one today, so it'll probably be out tomorrow or the day after. And let me know what you think, and we can make some suggestions, and we can collaborate on that.
Really good. And also, Eddie has a community, which I'm kind of jealous of how Eddie manages it. There is a lot of things going on there. I would like to provide this to my Discord channel, my Discord server as well. One of the things that Eddie does is kind of invite people on your streams. So people from your community can actually talk during the live events, which is super awesome.
Yeah, we call that Radio Eddie. So I always love bringing on guests on the actual live stream or video, but some people are quite nervous. So I thought, right, can I bridge the gap? So when I don't have a guest on a live stream, I try and run Radio Eddie, where people can kind of like call in and just have their audio. They can come in for a few minutes, and then ask a question, have a discussion, and then leave. And that's worked really well. People are really enjoying that. Some people still like to type, and some people want to come, ask their question publicly. Some people just want to practice their public speaking, which is completely fine.
Yeah, I was just going to say that it's such a low bar, such a easy entry point for people who want to begin with public speaking. And I remember I've organized a bunch of events here in Stockholm, and I tried to make it even more welcoming than lightning talks. I think I called it blink talks, when you don't have to have even 5 minutes. You have something, just come up on the stage and tell what you've learned, what you have, something interesting that you would discuss near the cooler in your office, for example.
I love that. That's a really good idea.
Make the bar, some really low bar, like really low effort. And I think this thing also allows people to practice it really well. So about today's discussion, I've prepared 13, the lucky number, questions about being an open source maintainer. Well, let's see where the discussion goes. But we can play the game. You tell me the number, and I ask you the question. 1 to 13.
Okay, 1.5. Does it not
1.5?
Like
okay. first half of the first question, second half of the second. No, let's say second. Let's say first 10.
Okay.
We'll play safe. Okay.
Yeah, go for the easy one.
First, actually, they are in sort of a logical order, but it doesn't really matter because whatever. Anyway, why should you be a maintainer of an open source project?
That's a great question. So I always tell everyone to contribute to open source because you'll learn so much, soft skills, hard skills, but the soft skills are also hard. So that's terrible labeling. And you'll meet so many amazing people. But why you should also become a maintainer is because you will learn so many other skills, and therefore your contributions will be even better. Like imagine if, people watching, if you ask a question, you might not ask it with context very clearly, etc., and so on. But if someone's asked you a question before and you think, that doesn't quite make sense, can you tell me what you were doing at this time, or what operating system were you on, what browser were you using, etc. When you ask a question next time, you're going to include that information because you know that you needed it, so other people will need it. You'll give more context, and so that's why it's so important to be a maintainer as well, because your contributions will just raising an issue will be so much better, because you'll see issues that get raised and you think, well, it doesn't quite make sense. Can you explain a bit more, etc., and so on. So definitely become a maintainer.
You will see the other side.
Different skills. Absolutely. Yeah.
Really nice. Another question is, like, when you start as a maintainer, there are two options. You can start a new project. That's kind of obvious. And another one, you can become a maintainer of some other project that already exists. And then the question is, when should you consider joining or forking the other project? Like, how do you consider it?
Okay. So if you want to contribute to the project, then I would say fork it. That's the time to fork. And then you can make a contribution. Yeah,
to be honest, I meant
right time to do it.
Forking the project, not the repo, because the first step of contributing is, of course, forking the repo and making some changes and then creating a pull request so people can merge it. But I meant something like when you see the project and you think, oh, I see some direction in which I would like it to be moving. How do you decide that it's better to join the forces,
or
it's better to to take another path and just create another project that would be just forked from the original one?
Got you. Oh, this is a great question, actually. No one's ever asked me this, but I have an answer, so all is good. I've seen this happen quite a few times before. So I would always say try and go in the same direction or try and contribute to the main project. You don't want to kind of divide forces. It's better if you could all work together. But they will come to well, not they will. One time or two times in one person's journey or career, you will notice that you want a feature that the maintainers don't want. And so you then fork it and add that feature to your fork. And I actually have seen some forks which are never going to be merged back in. So these are forks that are kind of running a complete split of the community, actually get more popular than the original repository because they've taken it in a direction that was exciting and you know, was feature rich or was maybe more beta style and just therefore it was just having cycles a lot faster, or opposite where maybe it was more stable and so on. So if you think something needs forking and needs to run in a different direction, then definitely do that. Absolutely. When is the right time? You'll know. I think people will know when it's the right time.
So basically, you always err on the side of maintaining the existing project instead of just creating a new one. Because to be honest, I see mostly the reason of just ego. Like, I want my project when it comes to just forking the project, not the repo, but the project itself. I see. So
I think people should leave their ego at the door, and I think it's a phase we all need to go through. I'm sure I had that a couple of times as well, but yeah, I'm sure even on socials I went, "Oh, use my fork; it's even better." I'm trying to get those stars and those people, but really, you know, it doesn't help. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't do the personal brand of that person any good. Doesn't do the community any good. Doesn't do the project any good.
So it's just better for everyone if you join the forces as much as you can,
if possible. Yes. Yeah.
Questions that bothers me, like there are two next questions that bother me personally the most. First one is, how do you manage your time as an open source, especially if you have a bunch of open source projects? Like, how do you manage it? How do you split it between, so maybe you have a regular job and then you have open source and then you have other projects. Like, how do you manage this time?
I'm going to try and play a sound effect to explain how I do it. Let me see if it comes through. It's hopefully the fail sound effect came through. I do it very, very badly. I actually, as of like 20 minutes ago, I have 955 GitHub notifications that I'm still behind on. So everyone who's watching, I'm really sorry. I will catch up slowly. Badly, it's quite hard. So if I can explain a bit about maybe my setup, and then we can dig in any particular area that you want. And anyone in the audience, feel free to ask a question. I'm an open book. So I do have clients. I'm trying to reduce my clients because I want to do more community work. I feel that client work is great. It pays the bills. But I want to do more with the community. So I am looking at alternatives forms of income to kind of allow me to reduce that even further. I have reduced it a lot already. I try and prioritize a bit better. I'm getting better all the time. I'm learning all the time. So for example, like my socials, Twitter and LinkedIn, I get like, I don't know, 100 notifications every few hours. So I try and keep on top of that, making a tea or a coffee, just trying on my phone, just kind of catch up, always try and reply to everything. Discord as well, loads of notifications. I have some amazing moderators in our community. So that really helps like keep on top of the Discord as well. GitHub notifications, The reason why that's a bit of a lower priority for me, not because GitHub is a low priority, but it's because we have so many mods in our Eddie Hub GitHub org that I've got 955 notifications. But I bet you 900 of them have been taken care of already. Yes, I want to go have a look, make sure no input's needed from me, or I might need some knowledge transfer about what's going on. So I might not necessarily comment or do anything, but I'll be like, okay, I'm aware that's a feature that's just gone in and so forth. So most of it has been taken care of. Even people who haven't got maintainer status in some of the projects, they can still review a project and make suggestions and ask people to make changes, and then they can discuss it. So by the time I get to it, it's already been discussed. Someone's already approved it. They might not have the ability to merge it in, but all I need to do is just hit that button. It all looks great and merged in. So yeah, big shout out to the Eddie Hub community. They really help me. So I do have my core team. I do have a full-time video editor. I do have a part-time UX, UI, and writer, but actually my wife is going to do my writing for me, and she's actually leaving her law job, and she's going to help me as of Thursday. So Friday she'll be joining me full time, which is so cool. After like her being in law for like 15 years, she's like, you love what you do. I want to be part of that. I want to love what I do. And she loves like, you know, the writing, the creative, and so she's going to help me a lot with that as well. So team's definitely growing. I got a couple of paid interns as well, which are also helping me out too, which is really cool.
So basically your answer about managing your time, get help.
Yeah, agree. Definitely, like, really do. Like, some people do say, "Oh, Eddie, you know, you could save, I don't know, $100 if you did that yourself." And it's like, yes, but it will take me twice as long, and it will be like a fraction of the quality. Because when you hire someone who focuses in the area, that's what they do. They've got so much experience in that area. Like, for example, I love video editing. I really enjoy it. Most of the time, not all the time, most of the time. But I could spend like, I don't know, a week editing something, and my video editor will spend like 2-3 hours on it. And what she does is 100 times better than what I've done, because it's what she does. I'm not a video editor. I might enjoy it. I might enjoy playing football, but I'm not Ronaldo, right? So yeah, definitely hire people to help you. And it's important to get people that you trust. Like, for me, my team that I have at the moment, I really trust them. And so if I'm out of the house, I'm on my phone, and my video editor says, look, I've done it this way or this way, what do you think? I'm like, look, I'm on my phone, I can't see it. I trust your decision. And to be honest, most of the time now, my video editor doesn't even ask me. She makes a decision. I'm happy with it. It's done. If she asks, it's because there's like a huge difference between them, or it's something new we haven't done before. And so, yeah, just because for me, my time is the hardest factor, is the most critical thing. So when people ask me questions, I want it to be like really important. Hey, we got Sid here. How you doing, Sid? Oh, and Dimitri as well. Awesome. How to pick a license. Sid, don't ask hard questions. Ask easy questions.
This question was planned anyway, Eddie.
Oh, okay.
There will be questions like this. Get ready for those. They're coming.
Okay, we'll get to this shortly then. Okay, so
actually, we can get back to this question a little bit later, because yeah, again, I planned this question as well. It's a very good topic, because when you're a beginner, like what should you choose? Probably there is some generally good license, right? But let's discuss this a little bit.
Okay, that's an interesting conversation. I'd love to hear what other people think as well.
Yeah, that's interesting that when I asked about managing time, you also mentioned that you have a lot of notifications going on, and that was my next question. And I suck at it. Yesterday, I was preparing for the stream, checking like, what are we gonna do? I originally had a plan to kind of, you remember this old show, Pimp My Ride?
Yes.
Imagine we would do something like this, but with repo. I'm starting up Discord bot, and I thought, why not do it during the stream? Maybe we'll do it, maybe not. Let's see how the energy will go.
Sure.
So I checked my notifications, and I did a bunch of YouTube videos, a couple dozens, and for each of them I have a repo. And people often just start them, but some of them people wanted to pick up and develop into real projects. And I had no idea, because I have so much noise there from work notifications, like everything happens in GitHub. And I was hoping that you will say, oh, Maxim, that's super easy. You just do this, and that, boom, done. But apparently it is really a hard problem, the complex problem.
It is hard. There are some third-party apps out there to help you like filter. I mean, even on on the GitHub landing page, you can filter by projects or by organizations. So sometimes if I got a client project, I will prioritize that higher than the community projects, or vice versa. Maybe community projects are a bit higher. Shh, don't tell anyone. So yeah, so you can filter down, but I try and do it in date order and just start from the oldest and work my way backwards. I do want to get on top of that though, so it makes it a bit easier to maintain. I just seem to have this rolling window of being 7 to 10 days behind all the time. But it is hard. I'm not watching any projects. All the notifications I get are notifications that involve me, and it just keeps growing and growing, which is awesome. I'm not complaining, because it means that people are contributing to open source and adding value and getting involved, not just with pull requests, but like I said, raising issues, ideas, fixing bugs. I think it's just so awesome. So it does make me happy every time I do get a GitHub notification. It really, really does.
And also, especially if you just participate in some discussion, you will begin getting notification from it as well. And sometimes it just gets overwhelming, especially after we have Discord, we have GitHub, we have Twitter, we have a ton of stuff to keep track of.
Yes.
By the way,
it's hard though. It's hard.
It is 13 questions for a reason. I've just checked what is the next one. Guess what? We've just postponed the licenses question. Yes, it's the next one.
Okay, cool. Perfect timing.
Yeah.
So the licensing one, it's a hard one. I'm not an expert in this but at all by any means. But there is a great website. I'll show you.
Is it even important to have a license when you begin to work on the project?
So important. So important.
Okay.
Yes, great question. Yes, it's really important. And people think by not having a license, their project is 100% open source. Other people think by not having a license, their project is 100% not open source. And both are wrong.
Okay, what?
So they're both wrong. By not having a license, you conform to the GitHub's T's and C's, which off the top of my head, I think are people can fork your project and use it. There's something kind of that's in the middle that's a bit weird, which I don't like. I don't like their T's and C's, but I think people should be explicit in what their licensing is. So yes, everyone's interpretation of not having a license is quite interesting. I thought for many years that, I was going to say, I thought for many years not having a license meant you could do whatever you want with it.
Yeah, that would be what I would also guess, but apparently
no.
Not.
It's limited. People can fork it, I think, download it, and can contribute back, but can't use it, or something like that. There is some kind of GitHub's T's and C's is what you fall back to, and I think that's just. Right. Yeah,
it would be more explicit. So when you don't have a license, it tells you. Then you have this by default.
That's true. That's actually a really good idea. I think they're just trying to encourage people to have a license, because there are so many awesome licenses out there, and some of them are actually open source as well. So you can always make improvements to the license as well if you want, or make a fork of it. And that has happened with various licenses. But the popular ones are the more permissive ones, the more open ones.
I think the most popular that I know is MIT license, right?
Yeah, MIT is quite popular. Yeah, it's very popular. And if you go to a website called choosealicense.com, it's actually maintained by GitHub. Oh. It gives you great overview of the popular licenses and which projects use them. And then you can also even compare the licenses with this traffic light system. It's really, really nice.
Let's
bring it up. Let's do it.
Share my screen. I'm very clumsy. My entire screen. Boom.
Yes. So if you look at the first one, I need to work with a community. It says, this is quite useful. Does it say who uses it? No. But the next one is, I want a simple and permissive license. MIT, as you mentioned. MIT. Babel uses it, .NET and Rails. But you could go GNU as well, which encourages people to share the improvements, although most people don't do that as well, even if it has got that license. But if you're not sure, you can scroll down and go to the middle choice at the bottom. More licenses are available. And then you'll see a traffic light system of and you can hover over and get more information about what there is. So you can see it's really clear and useful of what to do. And my wife being a lawyer, I could get her to do a video on this on my YouTube in the next month, where she can actually explain from a technical point of view, like what would be good and what not be good. Because to me, this is really helpful, but still some things I don't always get and understand, and I forget. And see,
please do. I think it would be a really useful video. I think a lot of people struggle with those, especially after you have to read all the license. With this website, you don't have to. You can just go through the points and then decide what is more suitable for you. Good thing is that they have examples, like what projects already use this or that license. So it's really cool.
It does help. But I think licensing is like security. No one really cares until something goes wrong.
Exactly.
It's just like,
And when something goes wrong, it's too late.
Yes, exactly. It's like, you've dropped your bottle of beer or whatever you're drinking, that it's too late. Like you can't try and scoop it up and go, I should have I should have held it better or whatever. So yeah, it's usually too late. So yeah, they need to definitely make sure they have a license. And changing licenses can be quite hard as well, because you've got all the people who committed to the first license before, and changing license can be quite complicated. So it's important to try and get it right first time.
Is it even possible? Because then people that have already forked it, will they be affected by the change of the license? Probably there are some rules.
The code they have will probably, if they haven't updated their fork, then they'll probably conform to the old license again. I'd have to check on this, but the difficulty is the people who have contributed in history, they've contributed to, say, GNU, where they want improvements from people using the project. And if you switch to something more closed, which happens, I think Sid mentioned this, like, where is it? Elasticsearch did this, Mongo did this. And I used to be a big fan of Elasticsearch and Mongo, but these license switches, they don't really affect us directly, but they do indirectly. And I haven't been a big, being an open source advocate, I just not too keen on some of these. They're not as bad as some other ones. Some other companies have had these amazing open source projects, lots of contributions, and then they go, right, we're going to stop maintaining this now. You can still have it as a community project, and we're going to do a closed source version, but we're going to fork this and take it into a closed source version. And then we're not going to contribute it back. And it's just, those companies, usually max exodus, no one wants to mass exodus, I say. Nobody wants to kind of get involved with those companies. So it can oh yeah, here we go. So Sid's after changing a license, you can start a fork from the point where the license changed. Exactly. Which is what AWS has done with both of those projects. Yeah, so I think some of these companies just need to work better together. I think trying to fight each other and to try and make a bit more money just doesn't make sense. It seems like it's like an uphill struggle. They should just somehow work together in adding the improvement. Man, these two powerhouses of a company working together rather than working against each other. So I just think it's a bit crazy. But this is why enterprise is usually always falling behind.
Yeah. What do you mean falling behind?
As in, they're not. They're falling behind in terms of they haven't got the latest features, or not all the community wants to get involved in them. It's like a bit elitist, or a bit, what do we say? What do the cool kids say? Kind of like a bit, I don't know, a bit of a smaller, tight-knit community rather than being open. Oh, sorry, you were saying?
Constricted, limited?
Yeah, it's just cliquey, I think is the word. It's like a bit kind of cliquey, and yeah, I just think it's a shame, but it happens all the time, unfortunately.
But cool, that's a great answer, and I really hope you will release that video about explaining all those licenses, the dangers, and the caveats around them. That would be really, really awesome. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Keep reminding me. I'll add it to my list as well.
That's where we come to the next question. That is how to set up a repo that is easy to work with. And here I would like to actually ask you to show some of your repos that you like, how it's like the least problematic one, the ones that you're the happiest about.
Yeah, I've got one in mind. That's easy peasy. Sid helped me with this repo, so it's actually perfect.
Awesome.
So yes, let me bring it up. Let's have a look. Increase the font size. Okay. Share screen. Sharing tips. Okay. Screen 4. Okay. There we go. Okay, so hopefully you have my screen.
You got it.
Awesome. Yes. Okay, so I see in the chat, nice
people complimenting your beard.
Thanks. There's a bit of a trim. And DC, my repos are a complete mess. It's good to clean them up. And people always wonder, how can I get more contributors? How can I get more stars, more forks? You need to make the project easy to understand for anybody. And then if you can lower the barrier to entry, the more contributions you'll get. Automate everything. And this is a project where I've automated as much as I can. It's a new project. It's a real client project. And I've trying to automate everything. There's still more improvements, I'm sure. And Sid helped me with this. So I'll just walk through it. So it's all running on GitHub Actions. But what you'll notice is I have releases. So I have 071.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go into the releases, what you also notice that I list what is in each release. So this one had feature, that one had bug, so it's 0.1, and then this one was a feature, so it became 0.7. So the minor got updated, and
so
you can see
semantic versioning that you're using.
Exactly. Here. And if I scroll down to a bigger release, you can see all these bug fixes with links to the commits, links to the issues and the pull requests, links to the commits, list the bug fixes, list the features. And this looks like a lot of work, but actually it's really easy. And this is all automated. I don't do this. So it will bump the version numbers automatically. It will put in the change log and do that all automatically. And I'll show you all shortly how to do that.
To make conventional commits, and then you derive the changes from how the commits are marked up.
Exactly. So the commit messages are really important. Is it a docs? Is it a chore? Is it a feature? Is it a bug fix? These are the really important things. And you can use something like Husky to make sure everyone conforms to this standard. So before they do a commit locally, Husky will do a check that it's following this version, just to make everything a lot easier. So you're right. That's how it's determined to what version number and what the change log is. But what I also want to show is if we go to packages, and packages are the like Docker Hub equivalent on GitHub. So it's the GitHub Container Registry. You will see the latest is 071, and we have 070, and all the numbers match the releases. So we have container that is released with the same version as well. So that's all in sync. Even better, the deployed version has the version number that's in sync as well. I can actually even show you that if people want to see. That is on Discord. And if I go to like testing, I did a test recently. Let me scroll up. I can probably, rather than just running it again, I probably have it somewhere here. This is me doing some other tests. Here we go. Look, you can see. I can make it bigger for people. Oh, that's too big.
No, it's just right. Please keep it
right. Okay. So you can see I ran, exclamation marks, the command, Stargate, and version. And you can see I'm running 071. So everyone knows that everything's in sync. 071, 071 down in the packages, 071 deployed. And we actually deploy to the Kubernetes cluster, all automated. And even further, to make your projects, again, easier for people to get involved in, we have labels, and every project has different labels. There is actually an open source standards label, which I actually learned from Nick in one of the mods in my community. And there is a standard for this. And you may think, oh, Eddie, there's 28 labels and you're adding more, and I'm not going to add all these in. It's too complicated. Well,
yeah, that's intimidating.
You don't need to do that. We created a GitHub action that does it for you. So you can find it in here in the project. When you go to the workflows, you got labels action. So all you need to do is literally copy and paste this. There's no change. Literally copy and paste this, and it will remove the labels you have and add these labels. And if you see any labels that you think are missing, and there could be missing labels because the open source standards labels gives a format and gives a starting point, but you can add more to it. So if you see more you want to add, you can go to this repo and you can make a pull request, add it to the JSON, and then everyone else's projects will automatically get the same label. So therefore, there's that consistency between projects. I think inconsistency is the hardest thing. I'm not saying the labels are perfect, but it's consistent.
A question about those labels. So you can add them automatically, but then you still need to get educated about the purpose of each of them. Where can you read about all those, a couple dozens of labels?
Yes. So good question. So the labels should hopefully they don't have a description. We need to fix that.
Yeah.
But you're right. We should put a description on these. So what you can do
to put descriptions?
Yes. Yeah, we can put a description in. But in our documentation, we should have a link to, where is it? There was labels. Let me just search. Oh, I know. We have deployed documentation that something else is going to show. So if we jump into that now and we go to labels, oh, not the JSON file. Actually, I can delete that JSON file. We've got an action now. We don't need that anymore. Here it gives you a brief overview of how the labels work, the format, and then the link to the full details on how it works and why the decision been made, how it is, and different colors and what they mean and all the rest.
Oh, that's cool. By the way, can we stop for a second?
Cool.
Could you talk a little bit about the project that you're showing, the Stargate? What does it do?
Yes. So the Stargate project is it's a project that I was creating a Discord bot that uses DataStax's database called Astra. And what their Astra is, it's a serverless database, but behind it's Cassandra. And people get scared about Cassandra all the time. It's a Apache project started by Facebook. It's highly scalable, NoSQL database. And I always got scared by it because it's quite complex and so on. So what they did was they made a in the cloud serverless solution, which is pretty awesome. So my goal was to create a Discord bot that had CRUD operations to their database to compare it to Mongo, to compare it to Firebase, and that's all it was. So the project itself is very small, but my goal was to do best practices with this project. So it was to automate everything.
Eddie, can you then please send me? You can do it here in private chat on the right.
Sure.
The link to this repo and the link to the website that you've shown about the labels. So I add them to the video description a bit later.
Sounds like a great idea. Awesome. Send those over.
Yep. Thank you. So yeah, because we had the question from Andrei Bondrev to get those links. Yeah, I will share them in the description.
Awesome. So what else do I want to show? So even the docs. So we've got the README, and the README has overview of what's going on. And let me see. Yes, and so we've got a docs folder. So we wanted to take the docs. All the docs started in the README, but as the README grew, we started moving things out. And so we were using Markdown, but we actually moved to ADOC. So we have a lot more functionality. ADOC is ASCII docs. It's like Markdown, but you have a lot more flexibility. So with Markdown, you have six, 7 or 8 different formatting you can do. But in ASCII docs, you can write books with it. You can do crazy, awesome stuff. And then if you use something like ASCII Doctor that we're using on GitHub Action, I can even show it to you. So if you go over here to GitHub Pages on the GitHub Action, we actually deploy the documentation. So it creates a table of contents for you. You can even bring in, I think we've got some JSON somewhere. Where is it? Here we go. So this is actually, I don't think I copied and pasted this into the file. It actually reads it out of the file in the project. And so therefore you can actually link to code. So if code changes, it will be updated automatically. You can create PDFs from this as well, which is awesome.
Sorry to interrupt, but it's a really interesting thing that you're showing right now. What is it called? ADOC?
So ADOC is the format, which is ASCII docs, but then you can use ASCII Doctor. So I've got videos on this actually because ASCII Doctor is freaking amazing. Shall I show you how amazing it is? You can do this. Check this out. Diagrams. You can actually code your diagrams.
There is plant UML. Is it that format or something different?
It supports all of them.
Whoa.
So you can choose one. So I use Mermaid a lot. And the great thing about Mermaid, let me go to their demo link. Where is it? They have a demo one somewhere. Oh, let me just go to their website. So what you can do is you can create so many of these diagrams. And what I love and I hate diagrams. Let me go to a sequence diagrams. I use that quite a lot. So I love and I hate diagrams. The reason why I love and I hate diagrams is if someone draws something really cool, it could be, a Gantt or a pie or whatever it is. And then someone else wants to make changes to it. They haven't got the Visio program or whatever they're using or, Adobe Illustrator. So someone else has to either redraw it and upload the binary. And I hate binaries in the repo. So what I love about these diagrams is, it's pretty, really simple that you just write something like this and it's stored in the repo as text, no binary. But when the GitHub action runs, ASCII docs will automatically bring in, I haven't think of an example, but will automatically bring in the diagram. and then generate it as part of the deployed version rather than inside the source code, which is so good. So when you're reviewing someone's pull request, if you want to change this from 1 week, this is very small, but you want to change it to 1 week to 2 week, I can just put a 2 there. And when someone reviews it in a pull request, you know what I've changed. You're not looking at 2 binaries before and afterwards and going, it looks the same to me. What has changed? And it's really hard sometimes. So yeah, I do all my my open source projects, my client projects, all with ASCII docs and ASCII Doctor, because it's just, I can even show you the GitHub action. It's so straightforward.
Does GitHub parse this format? Does it automatically show all those
diagrams? It does, but not the diagrams, but you can. You can. Okay, it's a great question. So let me quickly show you. So it parses the ASCII docs. So if I go into the ASCII docs, you can read it on GitHub. But in some pages, I do some stuff that GitHub doesn't support, but it doesn't break. It just might not look as nice as it will when it's actually deployed with ASCII Doctor that compiles it all. So that was your first question. Your second question was the diagram. So yes, you can do, if you do, I can't remember what the link is, Mermaid Online Diagram, I think, or Online Demo. Here we go, live editor, that's what they call it. So you can use this live editor and you can, draw what you want. You can pick different examples, so many different styles, right? And then it gives you a link that you can use that you automatically gets rendered. So if I go to an issue, I won't actually create the issue. And if I just put it in, here we go, just delete all that. So it gives you this link, and when you preview it, it actually brings the graph through. And therefore, what I do is I actually put a link to the editor. So if someone wants to go edit it, they can take a link, they'll have the diagram, and they can put another comment below that looks like this. And all they've had to do is make the small change they needed to. They didn't have to redraw it or anything like that. So
it is like kitten placeholders. When you need some placeholder images, and there is this project called cat or kitten placeholders where you just add the dimensions that you need, and it will pick up the image of a cat for you.
Got you.
That's really nice. Okay. But I was also very curious, how to add my stream here, about embedding the code examples there, because this is what we do for the books that we write in Newline, for example. It is actually relevant to writing documentation as well, because if you have code snippets, they will get outdated with time. And to avoid this, it's a good idea to just include the portion of the code that is relevant to this part of the documentation. So how do we do this with the CQ? You use selectors. Let me see. Yeah, you can see it here. Just like CSS. So for example, .barn will be a function that is called, it will be a class probably, because it's with capital letter. Okay. Or calc area is definitely a function. So it will select the calc area from it. And then we use an additional tool. So we have Markdown that has special syntax for those CQ tags, and they will be expanded into code examples. But you have this additional compilation step where you substitute the CQ tags with the real code. With the format that you've shown here, you don't need to do this, and you just have a link to the file, or how does it work? Because I think it's really important for the docs.
Yes, it is. I'm trying to find an example. Let me see. Let me find an example. Not this one. You can do it. You just specify the file and you specify the lines that you want to pull out. So it pulls out a specific part, and you can even highlight a specific part of the file. Include partials from code. This is someone's blog post from 2014, but I'm hoping it shows a simple example. Yes, because you can also, if you look at this example here, let me make it a bit bigger. You can also, when you include it, in this example, they've said include even the method. They haven't even specified the line numbers, which is really powerful, which is what I like, what ASCII docs have done. You can say include this function or this method from it. And you can tag in the code, but you also don't need to. I'm trying to find a better example. This is like 7 years old, so they have improved it. So when I used it, I would specify which function I want. It would always bring out, that function.
It's better than just line numbers, because line numbers will change. They change more frequently than function names.
Yes. So I'll find an example. I'll share it with you afterwards. I don't want to spend too much time on of the live stream looking for it, but it is possible, and I will try and find it as we go along, because it's not syntax highlighting, which I clicked on first. It is including the code.
I think it's actually a great topic because we now have a question from Fernando that I've put in the list of questions on how to support documentation. So we can get back to this topic. I even had an idea right now that the best documentation is the one that actually allows you to play with the code, the one that is interactive. So maybe something like Jupyter notebooks. If you work with front end, you probably know about the Style Guideist or Storybook that allows you to have exactly that allows you to have live documentation with examples of the components that you're using in the project. So you can not only read about how they work, but also play, tinker a little bit to understand better.
Absolutely. This is why I love, if I bring over, it's why I love using Swagger. So I'm actually playing with Stargate locally as well, because I'm still working on this project, and I love how Swagger works because you can kind of make requests, or I've got Swagger of our app. So our app connects to, I'm writing an API and in another repo at the moment I've just started, and it connects to the Stargate database locally. But yes, so here you can run it and then you can actually play. So it's the get, or with the post, you can try it out and then you can put in JSON here and just run the post even before writing any code and so forth. So you're right, it is all very similar tools, and I think the interaction tools work really well.
Exactly. It's the same idea applied to different layers of the application. If you consider an application something that is both backend and frontend, which I think a little bit makes sense. So speaking
absolutely.
about the docs, I think we both really agree that the best one is the one that is not discoverable, but interactive at least.
Yes.
And there are different tools for different kinds of projects.
Yes, there are. And I think, these tools are evolving all the time. So it's good to see kind of what's going on. I mean, I've had the ASCII docs people reach out to me to say, thank you for mentioning us in your video or live stream. And I'm like, well, thank you so much for an amazing project. I've been using it for years. So it's really great. I love how the communities all collaborate together and want to support each other.
Yeah, that's really cool. Collaboration. Yay. Next question actually came up after I watched a bunch of your streams. And I saw that you don't only accept contributions, but you also interact a lot with your community and you have planning sessions, basically. I saw one where you were planning tasks and putting it on Kanban board. Can you talk a little bit through this? I think it's a really interesting thing.
Yes. So I like to think I write good issues, but in reality, I might write something that makes sense to me, but to no one else. So getting the community involved, they say, well, what does that mean, Adi? That might not make sense. Or what about this? We can improve on the idea, and they come up with better ways of doing things. So I really love getting the community involved. I think they love to get involved as well. It's a two-way street. I can share some of my experience with them, and they can give me their fresh perspectives or a different perspective on it, which adds so much value. So I did a project board, and people also want to pick up tasks and get involved in the project and learn how things work. So we created a project board, and we just kind of assign them to different people, because our organization, this project is not under the organization, our community organization, which it should be. But they're just thinking of namings at the moment. But in our organization, we've got almost 650 people, and they can contribute to these different projects, and I just love seeing their perspective on things. So I love getting the community involved, even the story pointing. So we were pointing on the tasks, but if one person points on a task, it's a bit biased. So I was keen to get people with different experiences, different disciplines, and so on, to point on these, so we can then get a better, more accurate result, because there's different perspectives. And sometimes we were quite close, sometimes we were quite far away, and the far away ones are really interesting, because then it's like, well, I gave it a 3, you gave it an 8. Why? And then you realize that maybe they were including something they shouldn't, or vice versa. They were including something that they should, and I forgot that we should include something and left it out. So I just love that, planning stage. I thought it was really exciting. Really, really.
Do you have all those planning sessions basically recorded so people can go to your channel and learn on how to project management skills? That's what
it is, which is important. You're right, and it's just so important. People think, I'm a developer, I just need to code, or I'm DevOps, I just need to deploy, servers and so forth. And it's like, well, not really. We need appreciation for so many other things, and we might not be the project manager on the project, or the Scrum Master. Usually, we don't have so much project managers anymore, but we still need to understand and have an appreciation for someone else's his job as well. Therefore, you kind of bridge that gap. Otherwise, you end up throwing things over the fence, which you don't want to do. So I do leave those live streams on my channel. I don't have any videos on those, but I probably should do a video. I'm actually planning one with my client at the moment. I have a meeting with them on Thursday to plan to do a live stream about this project. And show behind the scenes on how we plan the project, how we plan to do videos together and all those sorts of things. So we want to be completely transparent with it. So that's going to be really awesome to get data stacks on a live stream, and they're just going to be an open book as well. And some of these people have come from Red Hat, and they've just done so many amazing things as well. So they're really into open source because DataStax is open source. Right, the DataStax serverless database has Stargate gateway in front of it and then Cassandra underneath. The reason why they have this Stargate gateway in front of it was because some people want to communicate via REST, some people want to communicate via GraphQL, and some want to go over the Cassandra native query language. So they built this gateway so you can just communicate over whichever way you want, and which I think is awesome. And with the serverless database, NoSQL database, it's even great because you get $25 of credit per month free, but that goes so far because you only get charged for each kind of request. So if your application is doing nothing, then you're going to get charged nothing. But also, I was like testing this out, during development, and I didn't even like reach $1, and I was like doing like loads of requests. I think it's so many millions and millions of. I think it was calculated that you get 30 million reads a month for free, 4 million writes, and 40 gigs of storage. Like, when my app gets past that, I'm probably making some money from it. So I'm not so worried. But the great thing was I'm just using the REST at the moment to keep things really simple. But later on, I might use GraphQL if I want to join different collections. And if I want true power and optimization, I can just move to Cassandra query language, which I really, really like that kind of, because, REST is going to be fine for me. My application, I don't think is ever going to need that, micro performance. So my point was that because their projects are open source, because my client project is open source, we can be open and talk about this in public, which is what I'm super excited about. I really wanted them to be on the planning call, but unfortunately they couldn't make it, time zones and all the rest. They're in the US. But I think it's going to be awesome. So any suggestions, anything you want to hear, let us know, and we can make sure we have an agenda point for that, and we can make sure we include it.
Let us know in the comments. And we have an interesting comment about the GitHub having Trello. Actually, GitHub now has everything. It's a huge combine that allows you to fully manage the project. And I think it has a registry, just like NPM. I think it has a Docker.
Yes, it does.
Registry. It has a Trello thing. It has Wiki. It has, I don't know what it doesn't have. I think it's easier to list what it doesn't have.
It even has sponsoring now, just like with, what's it called? Patreon, so people could, so you can see, people can I have like 12 sponsors. I'm sponsoring like 6 or 7 people, but you're right, it does have packages for like NPM, or packages like for Docker Hub, and that's why I have this Stargate project being deployed out. So you just still use the same Docker commands, it's just a different URL at the beginning. It says GitHub container registry. They have everything. I'm so surprised that people still don't know that it has this Kanban Trello style board, which is just awesome, because this can all get automated with code. So you can attach code to this. So not only can you attach code to it, you can also, let me close that. I don't need that anymore. I don't think I've got any code attached to this one.
You could have a separate step that would automate, for example, let's say in testing, that will automatically put the task to complete it after all the end-to-end tests run, for example.
Yes, and you can do so many things because it's all powered by GitHub Actions, and everything that happens on GitHub can trigger an action if you want, and then you can do anything you want on GitHub really easily. So it is, GitHub Actions is like this CI, but it's just super powerful. So if someone changes the label, moves the column, assigns it to someone else, you can trigger an action, and with that action, you can then do what you want. You could add a new label, you could move the columns, you could just do whatever you want. So what I have, for example, when a pull request is merged, I get it to close the issue. I haven't done it yet for it to move it into done, but that's the next thing I should probably do. There's just so many things that you can do. It is crazy. And it's crazy simple because you can like make notes, which I really like. So I can just do like test, and you can't assign any more information to it. You can't assign it to anyone. But then if you want to convert it to an issue, so therefore you can really track code against it, track pull request you can, or you can just delete the note. So I can make some really quick notes. I can convert them to an issue later on, which is just awesome. And, you can rename these columns, move them around. It's, some people have different columns and so forth. I just usually have this flow.
Yeah, it depends on the project.
Exactly. And you can have like multiple project boards as well, which is, I got future ideas. So I'm just dropping in ideas at the moment, and I'm just kind of, reordering them as I do stuff. It's really, really awesome to have everything in there. I mean, you've got things like, not settings, sorry. If you go to Insight, you can also go to the community tab, and you can see what's missing. So I'm missing a contributors file, but I have a code of conduct. I have a license and so forth. And you can even the buttons are here, so you can create a code of conduct just by clicking a button, and you can pick one from a drop-down list. They're open source as well, and from a license you can click it here and pick one too. So they've really, really made it super easy to do stuff.
It's a very nice environment. And you've touched an interesting topic. You said you can automate it using GitHub Actions, and I had a question about GitHub Bots, because that's another feature that a lot of repos or projects use. And what would you recommend to set up that the biggest time savers, so to say?
Okay, I can tell you very easily and quickly, because I'll go to my actions list, and these are all the things that I run on Actions. So docs, so building the docs and deploying them, building the Docker container and deploying it to Kubernetes, creating the changelog and releases. Clients love a changelog, but to do it by hand is really time-consuming and hard and inaccurate. Labels I mentioned, building the code, stale PRs, stale issues. If something hasn't had any activity, and you can literally just copy and paste this and put it in yours, and it runs. I think.
How do you determine? It's just by time. For example, there is a bug, someone reported it, and then it becomes stale just because of the time have passed.
Yes, if there's no activity on it, so if no one's commented, no one's done any activity on it, or put a label on it, after 30 days, it will give you can configure it to be more or less if you want. It will give you a warning as a comment and say, there's been no activity on this in 5 days. Again, you can configure that if you want it more or less. I will close this issue. And it's really good for keeping the backlog clean, because if a bug's come up and it's some obscure Linux distribution that nobody uses, is some old version from 10 years ago, and it's just stale, then it's great for the bot to just close it, because then why is it keeping the backlog a bit of a mess? So I do love this, but then I do get more notifications, because I do then go through and go, actually, no, I want that, thank you very much. Remove it, puts a label on it to say no activity, and then next time round it will then close it. So I just remove the label, and then it won't close it next time round. And in 30 days, if there's no activity, it will remind me again. So it's a really good way to keep things clean.
Yeah, so there is a price of keeping something that no one is actually caring about, even if it's a bug.
Yes, and sometimes it prompts you to put in a comment and say, look, thank you very much for raising this, but it seems like it's an isolated issue, and anything I can do to help. But most of the time they say, oh, I fixed it. So they just didn't go back and close it or put a comment. And then I usually say, well, how did you fix it? Therefore, if anyone else has the same issue. So it's just, this bot just kind of triggers that conversation, which then starts adding value to the project and the issue. So you still might close the issue or keep it closed, but now they fixed it, and you know how they fixed it. So the next person, if it happens, they can figure it out as well.
Next question. How do you keep the high quality bar? Because basically
automation.
We started discussing,
Sorry, carry on, go on.
I was going to say that we've basically began to cover this topic with the previous question about removing the stale issues. It's already removing the technical debt, because if the amount of issues or bugs or whatever reports is overwhelming, there is less and less chance that people will actually take action, because of just too many things are happening at once.
Exactly. So yes, automate everything. It's just so helpful. I'm gonna try and bring up an example again. Like automated tests, there's quality of the project, but there's also quality of the code base, and automation is for both of them. You need to automate everything. To give you an example, people don't like writing automated tests for some reason. But let me bring up a pull request. The pull request open at the moment.
So you kind of enforce automated tests. So if the pull request doesn't include them, you don't allow it automatically, or what do you mean?
Yes, so there's different things you can do. So it's trying to find a balance. So we run Husky for the commit, so we make sure the commit messages are correct. But we also make sure that we run the checks, various checks, to make sure before it's reviewed, that the quality of the PR, because there's no point someone spending time and effort. I think what it was, I got tired, and a lot of other maintainers got tired of going to pull request, and things are indented incorrectly, and there's an extra, like 5 extra spaces between the function, and it's just inconsistent. And as a maintainer, this is really important. And so, some people, they don't realize that, especially if they're new to tech, that it is important. Yes, it might not be like Python where it affects the code, but it's just not very good. If someone formats it later on, then they look like they've got more changes and all the rest. So having things like linters and prettiers run on CI is really important. We use Husky to run things locally for people, to save them making another commit and having a faster feedback loop. But some people bypass that, or try and be clever when they could just fix it, which is easier. But so on CI, you still need to have it, so you can see the linter ran and all the other things run, and then therefore they'll get notified by the action saying, well, actually, this variable is not used, or there's an extra 5 spaces here you don't need, and all the rest. They can then fix that, and once the PR is green, a maintainer or a community contributor can go in and review it. Therefore, when you have that discussion, it's the discussion on the important part rather than a discussion on you're missing space, exactly. You need an extra line.
Not waste energy about spaces and tabs and whatnot. Yeah,
exactly. So that's really, really important. And then we do automated testing. Sorry, go on.
The definitely typed package actually goes even further. So if during your first push you don't have any issues, so everything is in place, all the checkboxes are checked, everything runs, everything is green, they will just merge it automatically. It probably doesn't work for every project. For them it works because it's just types, and they assume that you probably know what you're doing. But that's also an approach.
Yeah, it's true, and it depends on the project, on the people, etc., and so on. But you can go super automated and I suppose slick, but it's just finding that balance for the project. I don't know, automated tests are really good. So for example, I found an issue at the moment, whereas we had automated tests and everything was green, but if I deleted the data and the test should fail, the test still passed.
That's the thing about the tests. You need to see them failing.
Exactly. That's why test-driven development is so important. Yes, it is. So I just want to quickly show an example of what tests can look like. I don't want to make this too test heavy. I did a live stream a bit on it yesterday. But what I really want to show is people hate tests, but tests can be really cool as well. So people hate tests because they think they have to make a lot of changes when they change code. But what happens if you could write tests in English? And this English needs to be improved. But look at this for an example. When we first load up the API, this is an API, and you can use this for the UI. This is using Cucumber. But what I love about this, you give it a title. It doesn't actually affect what's run. It's just something descriptive. But then this is what affects. If people haven't seen this before, let me explain. It's given when then. This has only got given and then. So it's given, so you kind of sit in the scene. When is performing the action, and then is the result. So here I'm saying give. Sorry, say that again.
Arrange, act, assert. That's another thing that is different words, same thing.
Yes, exactly. So thanks for that. No, it's really good. No, good to clarify and give the different perspectives. I love that. So here we've got given. Given I make a get request to this URI on the API, then the response should be 200, and the response should be an empty array because we've got no data in the system yet. And if we want to check adding a user, we can say, given that we make a post request to the same endpoint with this data, and the response should be 201, and the response should also contain this. And you'll notice what's different is we've got an ID and we've got created on and updated on. So I'm not going to run through all of this, but the point I'm trying to make is if you do a certain level of abstraction, you don't have to keep rewriting the test. If this suddenly has an extra field in there, I can just duplicate this line, add it there, and add it here, for example. I don't need to kind of write all these assertions and stuff because that's abstracted away. And I think people try and do things quickly to begin with. They don't want to set up these sorts of tools, but later on come back and to hurt them later. Like when someone says, hey, I'm just going to turn off the tests for this build because I really need to get this out to production today. I'll turn the tests back on tomorrow. And that never happens. And now the tests, the amount of client projects I've gone to where they say, look, we've got tests, but they've been off for about 6 months. I'm saying, well, you haven't got tests then, because one, they're going to be so out of date. And two, your code must be in a right mess as well.
Yeah, don't turn them off. By the way, I want to make a quick poll. What do folks in the chat think about Cucumber?
Do you use it yourself? What do you think?
Do you use it? Do you like it? Let us know in the comments. I'm really curious, because generally I totally agree with Eddie. With Cucumber, I have very mixed feelings. So the idea, I when I started working with it, when I saw it first time, I was like, whoa, that's really cool. Then I started to think, who actually needs this tool? Because it tries to, there are a lot of tools that try to do this. They try to create a programming language, not for programmers. You see what I mean? Like,
yeah, but do you know what the great thing about this is?
What?
When we get features in, our business analysts can actually write these for us, and therefore they put it into a pull request just via the GitHub UI, and yes, you guessed it, it all fails. But then what we do is we go write the code to make this pass. So if this, for example, let's go down to update. For example, they wanted to do an update feature. So they said, right, I want to be able to update these fields. I make a request to this, and you can make this a bit easier, right? You can abstract even further. You can remove this, like I update a user, right? They don't even need to know the URIs and all the rest. But I expect kind of this result. This is for API, so it's a bit. So for the UI, it would be better. It would be more. I click this, I enter this into this field, and so forth. So this is like a bit more technical. But the great thing is they submit.
If you look at this file, if you scroll a little bit up, then the topmost part, the most abstract part, looks like magic. Like, how does Cucumber know what are you doing? And thing is that it doesn't, and you need to decipher it for the machine of what is going on. And this actually comes in very useful when two kinds of people work on the project. The ones that have the business, mostly the business language on their side, and the technical people. And then it's like the bridge between them, so that it's not, hey, developers, do this, this, and that. No, you can actually have a very clear spec already defined in plain English, in business requirements language, whatever, I don't know. Probably it has a proper name.
No, you're right. It's the terminology, the business terminology, the product terminology. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then you encode it in what the machine should do. So yeah, then it makes total sense.
Exactly, and you can just reuse that. So if we were going to make a new, not a new user, we were going to make a new, I don't know, profile or new post or new job description or new job post. We would just literally copy and paste that and then just change the URI, change the fields. So the code behind this doesn't change. It's usually you write the step, we call it step definitions. You write it once, and then you can just keep the reuse is amazing because of the abstraction. And just going back to what I was saying about, we get our product owners or business analysts to go in. So they go find the test they want. So they might go to the test directory, they go to the feature, and they'll go make a change. They'll submit it to a pull request, and it will go red. And then what we'll do is we'll go and add to the same branch. We'll go add the code to make it pass. And it's all green. And then what we also do is we get it so those branches deploy out. So therefore, they've got an environment. So if the branch is named after the issue 123, for example, they could go to the URL issue123.theprojectname.com or whatever. They could actually have a play with it. They know it's all green. The tests they wrote tests, but they didn't really. They wrote kind of instructions of what they want the feature to do. And then it's all green. They can just hit merge and just deploy straight to production. Done. And it just has that flow, like really nice and slick. So we still have conversations with them, but we're having conversations about the important part rather than, imagine this, when I make a GET request to this, I expect to see welcome to Eddie Hub. They might want to change that to be, I don't know, say they want to change it to be hello. Why should we have a conversation and, meeting all about this? They could just go in and change this, submit it to a branch with the name of the issue 123. It will fail. We'll make it pass. They can merge it in. They can test it out if they want in their new temporary environment. When the PR is closed, it'll automatically tear down the environment that just got created as well. So it just keeps, you're still having the discussions, but you're talking about the real valuable stuff rather than just the kind of the silly little changes.
And again, it comes to abstraction and automation and really making the machine or the system do the thing that Otherwise, it would be just waste of time for the humans.
Exactly.
Really good point. I have one complex question, and then comes the
Uh-oh.
easy one. I assume that it's an easy one. Maybe it will be the hardest.
Okay.
So,
Oh no.
okay, let's go the
I
hard
don't
one.
mind.
Whatever you decide if it's
No,
hard or easy.
go with the form that you were going to go. Go with the which one you're going to go with. It's fine.
How do you onboard new people? Like, how do people?
I
Of
love
course,
this
first they
question.
will probably start using your project, but then how do they become part of the team maintaining it, and how you design the path for this person to make it the easiest possible?
Love this question for two reasons. So you might have to repeat the question in a second because I'm going to start off on a slight tangent, and there is
Yeah, no worries.
reason to my madness. So when someone says, hey, I want to kind of, get involved in your project, be it a client project, like a real project, a private project, or an open source project, it's the same thing. I think there's just so much that's the same. I say, great, you want to get involved in the project? Brilliant. Go find out what the project does. And they go, oh, but I don't really know. I'm like, well, go have a look at the Readme, go have a look at the documentation. And if you don't know what the project does, there's nothing wrong with you. There's something wrong with us. There's something wrong with the project. And getting their new perspective just adds so much value because they'll say, oh, I was looking at this, but we keep referring to this. What does it mean? I'm like, oh my God, we haven't defined what that is. But to us, it makes sense because we're living and breathing the project. So that adds so much value. And I love doing that. And it's not to test them or anything like that. It's to make it easier for the person after them. So that's what I like doing. And then to onboard them, I just ask them to add value. So if they go through it, if something doesn't make sense, raise an issue. They can get a green square for doing that. It helps their GitHub profile. But I try and also help them raise the issue where, I mean, like you might see people raise issues, like if I come down here, for example, and say one of these badges isn't working, like it's like not working. The issue might be badge doesn't work. What badge? There might be like loads of badges on the site. Is it a badge in the README? Is it a badge on the project itself? On the deployed version? What does it mean? So we help people explain themselves better, which is really important. One of the interview tests that I do is ask them to write an issue explaining something we've just discussed. And so it's a two-way street. They can then now help us get better at making improvements to our project. They learn how to, better raise issues. So that's kind of like the onboarding process. If they want to become as a maintainer, they shouldn't ask. The best thing to do is add value to the project, help other people. And it's not just about submitting pull requests. I actually think it's more about helping other people. So the maintainers that I have on a lot of our community projects in the Eddie Hub organization don't actually raise a lot of pull requests, but they review pull requests and they help people with issues. If someone raises an issue and says, like I said, missing badge, they'll write back and say, which badge, where, can you take a screenshot? And that just adds so much value to the project. I think people think to become a maintainer, they have to be the one that's doing the most code on the project. I actually don't think that. I used to think that, but I don't think that anymore. Now I have, I don't know, hundreds of projects, and at least 10 or 20 of them are really active within the community. You can see I'm wearing my t-shirt that matches the that mascot,
the logo there,
but
Eddie Hub.
Yeah. So yeah, it's important to add value and help other people. It's more about collaboration. Like if people think about it, you raise an issue to start the conversation. That's collaboration. Then you agree what's going to be changed. So you make the change, and then you raise a pull request, which is then you're going to have a collaboration and discussion on the changes. So it's collaboration, changes, collaboration. So it's more about open source and even coding as a whole. It's actually more about collaboration. And the more experienced I get after 15, even after 5, 10, now 15 years later, I find I'm doing less coding and more collaboration. And that's, really important.
That's
If
really
people
interesting.
Collaborate really well on a project, then I
think this is a fantastic point that you made about maintainers being more about clarifying and reviewing rather than producing the code. That's one thing. Another thing that you said with that, as you got more experienced, you were more about collaboration rather than just individual contributions. And I think it happens even if you just contribute to closed source projects. You begin to realize a lot of beginner developers are very scared that they're programming slowly. And they're afraid that they cannot solve every technical problem that they could come up with. And the thing is that, in my experience right now, programming is like, what, 30-40% of my day if I'm lucky enough. Otherwise, it's just a lot of communication, tons of discussions, like synchronizing different teams and people and whatnot. So yeah, I think in open source, it's even more prominent that you have to talk to people, communicate, clarify, and review.
Yes, and I think that's how I hire for my clients as well. If they say, look, I've got these 3 candidates, and they say this one's definitely a stronger coder, and I might not recommend them to be hired. And they say, why? I say, well, because they can't communicate. They can't explain what they're doing. They don't seem to be a team player. It's no good having, if you've got a boat with everyone rowing, there's no point having someone rowing in a different direction. It's not going to help the team. Actually, not having them will help the team.
Exactly.
And so it's more important about collaboration. And so it's a hard skill to have as well. It's not easy. Like learning how to write an API endpoint is easier than learning how to explain what you're doing, or public speaking, or because people think, oh, public speaking, I'm not going to speak to a conference, but you're going to have to speak to your team or speak to your boss and demo your project every week or every 2 weeks, whatever. So it is an important and a hard skill to have.
And some skills that you've listed, like public speaking, communicating, are definable, but there are also traits that are hard to define, even that it's easy to work with this person. Sometimes you just feel that, it clicks. I can work with this person, or it's just you don't match somehow.
Exactly. I think it's important to have that kind of that match, right? We get on better with other people, not because they're necessarily bad people. It's just the gel isn't there. And I think that's important. And that's why I always tell people to kind of share what they're learning on Twitter, on blog posts, on YouTube videos, etc. Because people feel that they not only can they discover you, but they feel like they know you a bit better. I've had people, like client, call me, message me and say, look, really want you to work on this project with us, help us on this project. Can we jump on a call? And get on the call and they go, oh, Eddie, great to see you again. I'm like, we've never met. I don't know who you are. Like, oh, I just feel like I know you. I've been watching your videos for the last 6 months and and so forth. It's just really strange. And okay, well, when are we going to start the interview? No, when can you start? I know you. I feel, I know you. I know what you're like. I want you to just do it. It's it's very, very different.
Awkward.
And that's what it is a bit. That's why my 2 regrets in my 16 years of career is not starting open source sooner and not starting YouTube sooner. I think I could have accelerated even further.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Recording videos actually helped me as well, not only with career, but also with understanding the topics that I was trying to work on and just being able to express myself clearer.
Exactly. Yeah.
We've kind of touched the topic of beginners and how they have this image of, oh, I need to be a quick coder. I need to blah, 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 like those hackers in the movies. And here's the other question about the beginner mistakes of the maintainers. Like, if you would meet Eddie from 10 years ago, what you would say to yourself? Like, stop doing this, or what would it
be? Stop trying to be the smartest person in the room, I think. In that I never said anything bad about anyone or anything like that, but I always try to big myself up more. Typical kind of, I don't know, people wouldn't see me as a bro, but just kind of that typical young guy attitude. I'm the best. I wouldn't say anything bad about anyone else. I'm not that kind of person, but I would be like, yeah, I learned this in a day. Oh, in the weekend, I did this and all this awesome stuff. And I found out more recently that I prefer to say big other people up. And because then what that does is I feel better that I'm bigging them up, because if they, rise and do better, they take me with them. And so if I'd learned that sooner, I think I could have started my community sooner. I would have met so many more amazing people sooner. I would have learned from all these people sooner, because in the Eddie Hub community, we believe that not only collaboration first, code second, but also everyone is a mentor. You come to the Eddie Hub community, you're going to be a mentor. Even if you're one day into your career, you're a mentor. And everyone is a mentee. I learn from everyone in our community, and everyone hopefully learns something from me as well. And I think I wish I learned that sooner, because I see people going, I want a mentor. And I look back and I used to think that at one point. I used to think, why would I want one mentor, one point of view? Everyone I speak to, everyone here in the audience who's asking amazing questions, they're all my mentors. They can all teach me something. I can all learn from them. And if I ask a question now, they can give me their perspective, and I can choose the one that I think is the most sensible, because I don't really know my exact situation. Even if I say, look, I've got this problem. What do you think? They don't know all the details. Where if I've got 5 or 6 different kind of opinions, I can think, oh, that one actually really, really relates.
We have another interesting question about tips. Any tips for making coding YouTube channel? Do you have any? I can give mine after you.
Yeah, sure. I talked a lot, so I'm really looking forward to hearing yours. So I've actually started a second YouTube channel, and there's a reason why I'm saying this. And to make it quicker and easier for me, I'm actually not having my video in the YouTube channel. I'm not even coding. I'm actually taking screenshots, and then I will put them on the timeline, like, before, after, with some arrows pointing at certain things, and I just record my voice. And it's a lot quicker to make videos that way, and to edit and hide stuff and all the rest. So I'm doing that because it's YouTube short, 1 minute or less. But the reason why I mention that is I think a lot of people are scared to go on camera. And I was really nervous as well. I love it now, but at the time I was really nervous. So I wish I started sooner on video, but even sooner before that, just doing audio, only like sharing my screen, just doing audio. Because I'll learn about video editing, I'll learn about audio. But when I first started as a YouTuber on camera, I had to learn about video editing, audio, lighting, SEO, YouTube, learn about some tech I want to share. What else? Editing, like overlays. Oh, there's just so many different things. I think it was just too overwhelming. It took me like a month to get out my first video. And you just learn so much. Like I don't think I really knew how to create videos until after my first 100 videos. Actually, even over my 300 videos now, I'm still learning and changing and tweaking all the time. So to get started, I would say just get started. I mean, I saved up a year or 2 years to buy like a $5,000 camera to guilt me into getting started. For me, I wanted the camera, but I knew if I bought it, I hate wasting money. It would nudge me to do it. And I needed that. But I felt I wasted 2 years saving up. I could have started on YouTube and been bigger before then and learned so many things faster. My biggest advice to everyone for YouTube, blogging, vlogging, open source, like, please start today. Today is Tuesday. Start today. Even small. Just do a 30-second video on YouTube or a 1-paragraph post, a blog post. Whatever it is, just start. Just trust me, you will learn so much from that. And just to say one last thing, I want to hear your advice as well, Maxim, so apologies. But I see some people, like I have a friend who just spent $20,000 on camera equipment and video equipment, audio equipment, all the stuff, and still 2 months later hasn't created anything. It's like going to the gym and wanting to be like Arnold Schwarzenegger and getting the best personal trainer in the world. Like even Arnie as your personal trainer. If you keep watching Arnie do the sit-ups, you're never going to get a six-pack. Like no matter how much you watch and no matter how much you go, oh, I like his technique today, I've learned something. You might learn something little new, but you will learn 1,000 times more by doing it because you can get feedback from your personal trainer or from the community. And also you'll feel it. You're like, oh, that didn't feel so right. Maybe I didn't quite do it right and so forth. So you have to do the exercise and then you're more likely to get a six-pack by doing the exercise. So get started today. And Maxim, What's yours? You go for it.
I have a bunch. So first one is to make videos and make it a consistent habit. Make sure it's pleasurable. It's one thing. Don't stress yourself out. In the beginning, it is hard. It's very awkward to stare into the camera and say something. Right now, I know there is an audience. I know there is Eddie looking at me. But when you're alone and you're recording a video, it's very hard. I know it for myself. I don't have any problem speaking with real people, speaking with real people. You're not real. No, I mean, in person. It's different. It's really different. Like even speaking on meetups and on stage, you still get this energy back. You still get this confirmation that, yes, everything is fine. We're listening to you. With camera, you're like, oh, I'm an idiot. What's going on? That's what's happening. And it's happening for everyone. So what I did, in the beginning, I was so intimidated to talk in front of the camera that I just didn't use camera. I just recorded screencasts. It's easier. You can even try to write down a scenario on the text and just go through it and read it out loud. It's a bit more tedious. It's a bit more work. So now I'm not doing it. But in the beginning, I did it and it helps to get it habitual. And it gets easier over time. Another thing, when you decide to go on camera and go do the talking head video, and if it's intimidating, try to record the video that you are not going to publish. So I have a whole playlist. I think it's more than 30 videos where I just was waking up every morning before work. I would say whatever. I had just a timer for 5 minutes. I say whatever, what I feel, what I think, some nonsense, doesn't matter. I needed to talk to the camera. Eventually, I became confident enough to not care. Like, camera, I'm not scared of you anymore. Next thing,
I love that.
critique. A lot of beginners are kind of lack confidence. So they try to find things that they're not doing well enough. They ask their friends, what could I do better, and whatnot. I think it's a really bad idea. In the beginning, it's too easy to discourage yourself. And even if you will get the smallest critique, it will remove some of this charge, some of this energy, and it will be harder to move on. You will become more self-conscious, and that's not what you want. You want to become less self-conscious at this point. You want to become more natural and not think about what you're really doing. You will get better if you do it a lot. You won't get better if you will just stress yourself out and have this image of perfect you doing this perfect video. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Eventually you will get better. So and don't punish yourself for doing the effort. So I know it for myself. Sometimes I would record a video and I would look at it, and I don't know, Eddie, how do you like editing videos? Because for me, sometimes it is torture to look at myself stuttering and sometimes repeating the same phrase over and over, trying to get it perfect. And then during the editing, seeing that it was good first time and then 20 other attempts were just what? Pure insanity. Did it happen to you ever?
Yes. Going back to my first video that I edited, it took me so long to edit, not only because I was learning, but also I couldn't watch myself for more than 30 seconds because I'd be cringe just hearing my voice. I'm like, oh, I can't, enough for today. I can't hear myself anymore. But after time, it just sounds like someone else. Like, as in, when you listen to someone else, you don't think, oh, that's annoying. You don't. But when you listen to yourself, it's really awkward. Now I just don't mind hearing myself because it's just normal. So again, doing your example of having practice videos and watching them back and picking up on things that you would improve next time is such a good idea. I wish I did that. It's such a great idea, but it was hard to edit myself then. Now it's a lot easier. Now it's harder for different things because I try and get really fancy and I spend hours trying to do crazy animations.
But you get next and next and next level complexity.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's important to not punish yourself for doing an effort. Like, you did a good thing, you did an effort, you sit there, you recorded a video, you've edited a video, however it turned out, even if you don't like it, you did a good job. Be proud of yourself. You will get better after you make a lot of them. And about people's critique, don't take any critique unless you really respect this person and you know that the person is trying to help you. So even today, I had a comment on my Russian accent somewhere in the beginning. And I know that it's mostly Russian-speaking people that notice my accent. And I would like to tell it specifically to people who speak Russian and notice my Russian accent. It doesn't matter. If it makes you being intimidated, you don't record videos in English because you're afraid that you have Russian accent. It doesn't matter. People have different accents, and you're preventing yourself from meeting a lot of amazing people that I did after I started recording videos in English, and it's just blocking you. So don't judge others and don't judge yourself for this. I think that's
advice. Really great advice. So hopefully everyone in the audience, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and everyone's going to start their YouTube channels, I think. So looking forward to
so. Whoa, my camera turned off.
Oh no.
I will fix it. No, I can fix it. I will just turn on another one.
No worries. Your setup looks really cool though. Like the Imaging Edge webcam. Are you using Sony?
Yes, it's Sony, but it's connected through the ATEM.
Okay.
Now it's Mac camera. I don't know why did they do such a ridiculous camera on Mac. iPhone is great. Mac is, what is this?
No, it's
what is this?
I am looking, actually, I'll talk to you after the stream about Macs. I'm looking to get a new one, and I have some questions about your digital book as well. So we can chat afterwards if you have time.
I had one last question about earning money as an open source developer.
I thought this would come up. Good question.
This did. Can you earn money on open source? Is it realistic to expect this?
Yes, it is. So there's two ways. I touched on GitHub sponsors. So by having setting up your GitHub sponsors, you can earn money. Before it used to be GitHub sponsors was a monthly payment. Now you can get one-offs as well. So I highly recommend signing up to GitHub sponsors. If it's not available in your country, I think it's available like 35 countries now. If it's not available in your country, everyone sign up anyway, so they can notify you when it's available, and two, if there's a lot of interest, they can prioritize that country first. They take no commission, which I think is just really, really epic. Where Patreon, I don't know, it takes like 10 or 20%. So yes, you can earn money directly, sponsorship like that, but you could also earn money indirectly by clients coming to you. I mean, I get job offers from Facebook, GitHub, Google. Actually, Google wasn't from open source. Google was from, I think, from YouTube. But my point is that they come to you, and lots of startups in addition to that as well, because of the open source contributions. When I went to the Ministry of Justice, which is a government department in the UK, as my client, they said, look, we need to hire 20 people for this new project as soon as possible. When you've got an open source project, right? And they went, yeah. I went, well, go to the Insights tab and go contact the top 20 contributors on your project. Because one, they'll know the project. One, you'll be able to work with them. You know them already and so forth. And so they contacted the top 20. And I think like 10 or 15 people came back and said, yeah, would work on the project, continue working on the project. Literally, one day when they started, they hit the ground running and just working on the project because they've been working on it already. So why would you not hire someone who knows your project, your culture, your process, everything? So if you want to work for a particular company, go contribute to their open source projects. And I've seen that. So I think it was not Denise, Debbie, who used to be DevRel for Nuxt.js. She's just moved on to somewhere else now. I think Vonage. I think she's head of DevRel for Vonage. But the way she got her job at Nuxt.js, if I remember correctly, she was improving their documentation over time just because she was using their project. She's making improvements and all the rest. And so when they said, actually, we need a full-time person to manage our DevRel, who's the first person they're going to contact? They contacted Debbie and said, look, do you want to get paid to do this? And she's like, well, I'm doing it anyway. So yes. And then you don't have to do another job at the same time. So yeah, it's definitely open source is just how I get all my clients, how I get all my money is from open source. And now YouTube is also helping as well.
So you can do it indirectly. Directly is probably a bit harder.
Yes, I for my sponsors, I was going to do a video on this, but I don't know if people would be interested in it or if it sounds like me bragging.
Well,
but
I would be interested.
Okay. Let me know, people listening, if this would be interesting for you, but to talk about how much money, actually share my screen of how much money I make on GitHub sponsors, which I'm completely open about it. So just as a note, I make about $100 a month now, which isn't, loads of money, but it's really nice that the community kind of, from $1 to $25 just contribute to me and make $100 of that. I think the hardest thing is to get started, and then you can start kind of scaling it up. And those people, they get, what do they get in return? You're all probably asking. Well, they get, we have an hour weekly call just for sponsors. It was for sponsors who did $10 or more above, but as it only had like 1 or 2 people, I thought it was a bit of like, let's include everybody until it grows, then we'll see what we do. But yeah, every week we get together for an hour and we just geek out and just talk about their projects, about my projects, whatever it is. We just geek out for an hour every Saturday. And they get a link to their GitHub in my YouTube descriptions. So that's directly, and that works pretty well. But yeah, I was thinking of doing a video talking a bit more about that. I don't know if that's that interesting or not. But
and I think we can answer the one last question and then wrap it up. Well, okay, can I answer this? And you can also answer it if you want. I would say it really doesn't matter, to be honest. Linux or Windows. First of all, Linux is the best. That's the thing. Use Linux. Neither Linux or Windows. Thing is, I worked on Windows 2 years ago. It was a huge pause for me. I didn't use Windows for more than 8 years, and it's actually pretty decent. Second, it is not that they're better specifically for open source or for development. There are different audiences that use different products, and different products are on different platforms. So it depends on what do you want, where do you want to sell your products or your company, or who uses this product and where. So yeah, my answer is doesn't matter. Depends on the project. What about you, Eddie?
So I really don't like Windows. I haven't used Windows in probably like 12 or so years. But if I show you behind the scenes, I have a Windows machine up there because for my calls or my live streaming software, I have to run vMix, which runs on a streaming PC under my desk, dedicated. And all I've got installed on it is just like the vMix to run the stream. So I really don't like it. This is Windows 7. It's the first one I use since XP. and it does seem it boots up a lot quicker. It does seem pretty good. I'm definitely a Mac and Linux person. They just seem to work very well for me. I don't want to bash Windows, but like I use TypeScript, and that's my Microsoft product, which is great. VS Code, great. So I have nothing against. Actually, I think Microsoft have really changed their narrative on open source, remote working, even before the pandemic, done a great job on that. But Windows, I'm not a big fan of it. I really don't like it. I still can't get on with it. Every time I boot this up to do a live stream, it's saying, do you want to do an update, and forcing me to an update. I have to like turn it on an hour before a live stream because it's just the way it works. I don't know. I'm just so used to, I suppose, I'm so used to Linux with the way it does its updates, and it's just really easy.
All that.
Sorry?
To bash syntax and all that.
Yeah. I think, I don't know. I see people doing lots of funky stuff in Windows, trying to get Git to work and all that. It's too confusing for me. I just need the tools to work so I can do my job. So I want to add value to my project. I don't want to like sort of build all this crazy tooling. Like I don't want to write a testing framework. I don't want to write a HTTP client library. I just want to use ones that exist. So for me, Mac and Linux just work, allows me to do my work and so forth. I used to love tweaking Linux so much. Like when I was younger, or the beginning of my career, I used to spend like literally the weekend just customizing and tweaking Linux. I was like, yeah, never Mac, Linux, open source, everything. And I'll be like, yes, I can configure Google Drive with this, and I can sync it with an not async. I can't even think what it's called now, on SCP or whatever I was using at the time. I can't remember. Might be async. I can't remember. But
did you use Emacs as well? Emacs or Vim? Quick question.
I was Emacs. Now I'm Vim, but at the beginning I was more Emacs. You're right, but definitely more Vim now, for a long time. But time is so precious for me now that I just need stuff to work. Mac isn't perfect, but it does 80% of what I need, and it just works, and that's all that I want.
Well, let's wrap up.
Let's do it. It was that was a really good discussion. Loved that. I'm looking through the chat. There was one question saying, I wondered what a GitHub star makes from GitHub. I don't make anything from being a GitHub star. So those sponsorships from the community are if I'm a GitHub star or not. So you all can have sponsorship as well. And I'm GitHub Star of the Year, but again, I don't make any money from that. All the money I make from GitHub sponsorship is contributions from the community. Oh, Jay just joined. You're late, Jay. Jay's from EddieHub. Hi, Jay. Who else is from EddieHub? I thought we'd have more people here, but Jay, thanks for joining. You joined right at the end. Here's a great question, and if you don't mind, Maxim, can we do one more? Reason why no problem. I think it's a great question because it ties back into the Mac and Windows.
Which one? I would like to put it on the screen. Which one is it?
Sure. Why didn't you minify your portfolio? So DC, is that for my website, eddiejoude.io?
Let's go there. eddiejoude.io.
So actually, the reason. Say again. Sorry.
It's open on my machine. I'm gonna just show you. Okay. Is that it?
So is this the one? Is this the one that DC talked about? Why isn't this minified? Because I didn't code this. I use low code or no code solution for this. And as a developer, someone who's massively passionate about code, you're going to say, well, why didn't I code this? I initially did, funny enough, but my team can't update it so much. Yes, they could make pull requests with texts and so on. They could do text changes, but they couldn't add buttons. They couldn't do more complex things. And so I decided to go for a low code or no code solution because for me, the website wasn't a way to show off my skills. It was to get out information. And that was it. Have people contact me, have links to my other socials. So I spent the whole of Christmas writing this in Nuxt.js, and I loved it. It was so much fun. But that wasn't the value for me. The value for me was to have it out online. Like every day that it wasn't out online and I was coding it, it wasn't adding value to me or the community or my clients. So I decided in one day to get a template, drop in some pictures, drop in some text, and put it out there. And now my team can keep this up to date for me. So my view on low code, no code is really changing, although I still love code. Sorry, what was that, Maxim?
I totally understand your problem, to be honest, because I have my website, maximivno.com, and I stopped updating it because it's a mess. I need to update the code. And it's exactly as you said, no value to the reader. I just made a messy theme that looks that hurts people's eyes, to be frank. And I think I will just migrate to some platform for now. So I just can continue writing the blog posts. That's it.
Yeah, just do that. Just whatever is the easiest lower barrier to entry. And on that note, when people talking about why didn't I minify the code, if you know about website optimization and you want to get into freelancing, that is value you can add. I've seen, even when I started freelancing again, like 15 years ago, the first sites I did were a template, a HTML and CSS template that I just put in their pictures and their text. And you think, that's silly. Who's going to pay you to do that? A business owner does not understand how a simple HTML and CSS template works. They don't even know how to host it. So I was able to solve a problem for them, and they were happy to pay me for it. So I've seen one old client approached me, and I didn't want the work, so I passed it on to someone in my community. And they said, Eddie, why are they going to pay me to update their DNS? I just need to copy and paste in some name servers and that's it, and set up some subdomains. I was like, that's rocket science for them. They don't want to spend 5 hours reading about it. It might take you 10 minutes, but they don't want to. They just want it to work. They don't care how or why. They just want it to work. You're there to solve a problem. So I said, just charge an hour because you'll have a call with them and so forth. So all around, it'll be like an hour or two. Charge them 2 hours. They literally paid them like $100, and they just said, look, I just need this URL to go to this website. I need this to work. I need an email address, and that's it. They clicked on point, and they got paid really well for that because we're there to solve a problem. They don't care if you've done it with an A record, a C name, or whatever. They just want it to work and efficiently and not problematic. So I think, sometimes as a techie, and myself included, we get wrapped up in, oh, I'm going to use this. It's lower latency. It's the latest React version. The client doesn't care. They want stuff to work. Actually, a lot of my clients prefer Angular because it's a framework. So when we onboard new people, everything's already set up. Whereas with React, they get like 5 different HTTP clients. They don't know what they are, but they realize 5 of the same thing is really bad.
Yeah, well, it's something to worry about for some techie that they hire, not for them anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can understand this point. Yes, that when you have the right way to solve the problems, it's in some way easier when Angular provides you the solution already and React gives you a bunch of questions.
Yeah, super flexible, but everyone has a different way of doing it, which just never works out well.
Yeah.
Awesome. Someone said nice sweater. Is that my Eddie Hub logo, that one? Or was it your sweater?
I think actually it makes sense to call t-shirts sweaters. This makes more sense to me.
Oh, I just assumed it meant my t-shirt. It does feel like a freaking sweater in here, though. The light, you can't see the lights, but the lights from all of these is like roasting. I've got underfloor heating on because it was cold earlier and I haven't turned it off. So my floor is like 30 degrees.
Now it's a real sweater.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
DC,
so
Angular, yeah. Sorry, carry on. No, you were wrapping up. Sorry. I could talk forever geeking out.
We can continue geeking out. I don't mind.
No, we'll continue afterwards.
Like
I want to ask you. Oh, we can carry on chatting if you want. I wanted to ask you about, what you were talking about, your documentation and stuff before.
Yeah. We had this question about the documentation. You wanted to discuss it?
No, your documentation. So you showed me. Was it a book you were writing or something?
A book yes. The book that I was writing. We can talk about it here. I think people might appreciate it.
Yeah, sure.
And if it's not interesting to other people, they might just leave our stream. That's it. If it's not interesting to you, just leave. No, but we're going to discuss...
Don't leave. Stay here. Give a thumbs up. Subscribe to this awesome, Maxim's awesome channel, of course, and listen to this awesome information because I want to learn. I just want to learn how you wrote your book and why you wrote it. Are you selling it? Like it's just so interesting to see different people's perspectives. Actually, can I start again? Can I ask you a different question first?
Let's go. So
can you remind me and remind everyone listening about you? So what do you do as a day job? You're a content creator, and where does your income come from? Not the amount of income, but 50% from clients, 10% from YouTube or whatever. Just a rough idea so we can get an idea of where you are and so forth.
Yeah, sure. I can actually show some objects as well because now I'm in a more comfortable position. So I have a lot of Minecraft swag here.
Yeah, I saw,
toys and things.
That's so cool.
Nice sheep or whatnot. Hello, I'm a yellow sheep. There is a green one as well. But also, wait a sec. Okay. All right. So this is this thing as well.
What
So
is
I work in
it?
Mojang. It's Minecraft Dungeons. We've launched this game. What I think it's a year ago already.
Okay.
So working Mojang. I live in Stockholm in Sweden. They're
Okay.
working Mojang. It's a company that made Minecraft and now Minecraft Dungeons as well.
Okay.
And I work there as a front-end developer.
Awesome.
One of the things that I was working on lately, I can show you, not the latest thing because it's not released yet, but I can show you
Awesome. Yeah.
the one before that. Minecraft Dungeons.com. Please open. Yep. I'm gonna share my screen. Wrong button. Share. Share screen. Let's go. So yeah, this is the website that I was working on maybe half a year ago. Now it's some other project that I'm on. Here you can buy the products. What I did here, I designed the translation part, the thing that we use to localize the front end part here.
Got you.
Mostly the cart parts of the checkout.
What tech did you use for this?
It is actually an interesting setup. We use a microservice architecture for the backend, something that really stores and computes the data. Then we have intermediate layer that is Django. And then in Django, we have a bunch of React applications. So this thing here, card summary, is one React application. This thing here, if I remember correctly, this thing is a separate React application. This one is a separate React application. And those are actually not, but those buttons, add to cart, they are React applications.
Okay.
So it's like microservice architecture. This is, I think, one React application, and all the buttons are. But the templates for the cards here are not even React. It's just the Django templates. So it's a mix of things. And this is really cool. What's really cool about React, that you can be very flexible. You can have one monolithic application. You can have a bunch of different small applications. You can combine those approaches. It's really cool. Provides a lot of freedom. We use React, TypeScript. We used to use, at least in this project, it was React Hook Form. I really like React Hook Form. What I like about it is what I usually like about all the libraries that I like. They usually have very small surface area. It's not much to learn, and they have certain logic behind it. And in case of React Hook Form, it's just really, really practical. It's not ideologically correct. You know what I mean? Like pure functions, idiomatic, things like that. No, it uses refs, which some people might consider, isn't it a code smell? No, it saves you a lot of time when you just provide now it's not refs. With React Hook Form version 7, they got rid of this pattern, but it was fine even back then because it solved the problem very efficiently. And most of the time, you wouldn't even have to worry about a lot of things. You would just provide the ref to the elements, and React Hook Form would automatically keep track of all your inputs and save you a ton of effort. Yeah, what else? That's my day job. That's what I do
day job. And in addition to that, you do YouTube.
Exactly.
Videos, live streams. What are your videos on?
What are my videos on? It's different things. If you go to my YouTube channel,
I have it open. I was kind of going to see if you could explain. I saw you did a Swagger one, and I watched something you did yesterday. Yesterday I watched something you did. What was it? I can't remember. E2E with Laura. I think I watched that one. Yes.
Yes. We had 2 streams. Actually, it was very interesting, very spontaneous. I saw her opinion on Twitter about tests, which I did not fully agree. And I was really curious to talk with her about her approach. How does she solve different problems when she tests projects? That was very interesting. First, we talked about tests in general, and then we tried to write some Cypress tests. That was a lot of fun.
Awesome. I use Cypress with Cucumber. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's different approaches. I actually prefer more programming-based tools to write end-to-end tests. And I told this about Cucumber, but now that we've sort of discussed it, I see the point. It depends on your team. What people is it composed of? So when you have people who are purely, let's say, data analysts, then yeah, it makes sense to have Cucumber. It doesn't make sense for them to write the specs that are not code. Why not have them inside the code? You've shown the flow where the code, the test is now failing, and you can fix it. It's much better. I see the point.
Sure. I just find that people write the tests very differently. So if you wanted, if you whereas with Cucumber, it makes sure that the step definitions are standardized. Whereas otherwise, I find that every test is written differently by a different person because they have different logic. So if you need to fix something or add an addition to it, I don't know. I just find it was just a bit different. But maybe, like you said, it depends on the project and the people.
Yeah, true. It really depends on the combination of different roles in the project and how you solve the problems, because there are a lot of options. And of course,
Yeah.
you will need different sort of tools. But my channel is mostly about front-end development, and I try to keep it around. It's most, to be honest, mostly React. Some other topics if I'm interested in them, but mostly React. For example, here it's Redux Saga, Redux Thunks. I'm
You got
comparing those.
Kubernetes as well. Nice.
A little bit, just a little bit. It's very, very, very basic.
Same with me.
Mostly React, TypeScript. Yeah. I'm planning to start working on a bigger series of videos about TypeScript to cover at least the basics. Maybe not really. It depends what you consider basics in TypeScript, because, for example, some people consider even generics to be advanced. I think it's something that can be both advanced and basic. I mean, basic topics, people usually learn them first. And generics is something that unlocks a lot of things to you. So you need to learn this
Generics
quite
is
early.
amazing. I think generics, to use it in the basic form, is quite basic. Although it took me years to understand it. It really took me years to understand it because
there are a lot of caveats.
There are lots of caveats. I was doing it with Java before TypeScript came out, and it took me a while. I would use it in Java, but I didn't really understand why I really used it in some conditions. I'd be like, okay, that works. I'm not sure why. But yeah, after using it more and more, yeah, now you can get, like you said, you can get very advanced. So that's cool. And then this book, tell me more about it.
I can show you.
And is this book free or do you sell it?
Yeah, I sell it. Full stack React TypeScript. I'm actually working on it right now because there are a lot of things have changed. I have changed. I have different. My opinions have changed. I got more experience with React and TypeScript, and the first chapter is now fully rewritten. I'm working on the second one, and it's a practical book. You have 6 chapters. First, we learn the basics of React and TypeScript, mostly focusing on the combination of those. So I assume that you know a little bit of React, at least. You have a concept.
I've used it on a couple of projects a few years ago, yeah. I've avoided like the plague since. I used it on a couple of projects for a client a few years ago, but I've avoided it like the plague since then.
React TypeScript, you mean?
React. No, TypeScript is awesome.
Yeah. All right. No, yeah, it's people like different tools. I worked with, I don't know, if you compare it to Backbone, what would you choose?
Backbone was a long time ago. So yeah, okay, I'll choose React. But that's like choosing between the devil and the deep blue sea is the expression, I think.
All right. Yeah, but then I teach testing. I had a co-author, Alex Bespoyasov, who wrote 2 other chapters, learning patterns and generating sites with Next.js. And then I teach how to use React with Redux and using GraphQL with TypeScript. This chapter is actually interesting because we're writing console-based application. And this is one of the biggest strengths of React, is that it doesn't matter where do you render the final result. It can be anything. It can be console, like in this example. It can be web. It can be like native components, like with React Native. Or in my experience, what I worked in DICE, I worked on Battlefield 5 game, and they have in some of the in-game interfaces were using React, and it was not browser-based. It was native code that was executed, and React was sending the commands to the game engine to display the buttons. You can do this. And this is one of the things that I really like about React. It's very universal. You can apply it in a ton of different ways.
Interesting. Okay, nice.
So yeah, that's me, and that's Alex, my co-author.
It's cool. So can I ask you a business question? So when you had someone else write 2 chapters for your book, do you agree like a split beforehand, like whatever that split is? I'm not asking you what it is, but as an example, like 25%, 75. So you agreed it, and then when you sell it, do you like give commission to them? Is that how it works?
Actually, we split it with the publisher, the New Line. So first,
I see. Okay.
We split it in half. Half goes to New Line, half goes to us as
Okay.
authors, and it's actually quite generous because a lot of publishers, they take much more. So New Line is
Okay.
good. I really like working with them. And another half, not half, but actually, as you said, there are 6 chapters. 2 chapters are written by my friend and 4 chapters by me. So we split it proportionally.
Okay, got you. Okay, interesting. I was asking because I was thinking of doing a course, and I was thinking it's quite a big ask. I wonder if I could split it with some people and then just share the profits. So I just wondered. Didn't know anyone who'd done that before, so it was great to see this. So thank you.
I would say it's a good idea. I didn't regret it, because if the person is performing well and doing the job, then it's awesome. You achieve the point when you can actually sell your product much quicker. You have to invest much less effort. You split the risk, because this might not fly off at all.
Yes,
it happens sometimes. So I would say yes, do it. It's a good idea.
Awesome. And so, do you have any other products that you sell, or is this your first one that you've done? Was it your second one, 10th one?
Right now, there is one product that is way less relevant, but it's the tractor school, and I'm doing it with my friend Nikita, and we are launching the React course.
Okay, and is it video or book or in person?
It is a video course. It's actually an interesting setup, because in the beginning we were going to use some learning management system. I think it was, I don't remember the name of the system, but there are CMSs, content management systems like WordPress, Drupal, Joomla or whatnot. And there are learning management systems. Same thing, but specifically for courses.
Oh,
and then
LMS.
we realized,
yes, okay.
LMS, yes.
LMS. Okay, I've seen that before, but I didn't know what it was. Okay.
Yeah, learning management system.
Right,
and then at some point I realized, it's so cumbersome. Why don't I just use Notion? Actually, maybe I could show.
Yeah, please show. I've heard Notion come a few times. Is Notion like Evernote, but better?
Notion is like Evernote, but much, 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 much better and more, how do you call it? Versatile. The whole course is actually written in Notion.
With video and with text and everything.
Yeah, it has a lot of different kinds of embeds. So if you open the course, on the top level, we have the course description, the welcoming video where I greet my students and I tell them what will be the course about. We have modules. Each module covers a specific topic. So first we cover the basics of React, then how to deploy your applications. It's actually important to learn deploy as early as possible, so they can set it up in their GitHub repo and then have the tests being run automatically.
Thank you so much. Exactly. I mean, people don't get this, and they say, Eddie, you've created the Stargate repo. You've only got hello world code, and you're running tests, which don't test too much, and you're deploying it and all the rest, but you haven't written the application yet. It's like, get the pipeline and tests running, then you can add more to it as you go along. So if something goes wrong, you know it. Yes, thank you. Finally, a course that does it right.
Exactly.
Yes.
And then we learn it. And then we learn it in a proper order, like navigation, forms, server communication, working with Redux, and then we learn Redux Toolkit, because Redux, you need to understand Redux. We even learn Redux without React at all, because the connection part is easy to get once you grasp the idea of Redux. Then we learn Redux Toolkit that allows you to get rid of a bunch of boilerplate, styling, authentication. Here it's not even related to React per se. We just learn what kinds of authentication authorization exist, how are they different. Some of it is actually relevant mostly for backend, but it's still good if you have this good context as a React developer, as a front-end developer. What is happening on the backend? Why do we use this system or not another?
Nice.
Then we have a module about security, and here I'm using the OWASP Node God project. Nice. They have 10 lessons, and I just go through all of them and explain them a little bit differently.
Really
and
then,
sorry?
I say really good idea. I like that. Excellent. That's awesome.
I go through 10 most popular, most
not popular.
Most popular vulnerabilities. Yeah, top 10 to implement in your project. We talk about server rendering just a little bit, because I think if you grasp the basics of React real good, you can learn it yourself. And then we have a bonus career module where we discuss how to write your CV, how to go through interviews, how to look for and apply for a job, all that. So it's very holistic approach. So that were modules. And good thing about Notion is that it allows you to have nesting. So inside of each of the modules, and you can navigate on the left sidebar, we have lessons. And each lesson, also each module has this fantasy letter from a character called Artyom, who is opening his pizza place, and he wants an online store. So basically what we're building throughout the whole course is a project for this imaginary person, but it's kind of real. We're playing it like we have letters. You see, it's a letter from Artyom. He asks for help. And then we have tasks. What do you need to implement, actually? And then, we have lessons. So each lesson allows me to have a video.
That's a really good idea.
Sometimes Notion is a bit slow. What?
And I'm loving this. It's so like useful to see how you've separate out the video, the text, and just different area. I love that. It's really awesome. And your videos are on YouTube? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of people say people will steal your videos, people will steal your content. Yeah, exactly. They will. So what? Should I actually invest my resources in trying to protect it? No, I don't care. I will create another course or update this one. And actually, I think the biggest value of the course is that people can actually communicate directly with the author and get feedback and join the community. And it's not just the material. Internet is full of materials. I don't care really.
Sorry to interrupt. So you're saying the value, the biggest, well, not necessarily, the course is obviously valuable, but the extra value add is they've got access to you as well. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
How do you do that? Is that on Discord? Do you create like a separate private channel for them?
Yeah, exactly. We have a private community. And what we're trying to do there, actually, I could show you the community as well, sharing all my secrets.
Yeah, this is awesome because like most people who create digital courses don't do that. They don't have access to them. And I was thinking of having access to me as well, but I hadn't heard of anyone who had done it. So
actually, look at this. I've announced our stream here as well. So maybe someone from our students actually is watching us right now. So what is cool about our community is that we're trying to have regular events and we have voice channels. And the idea is that it's not only the instructors who are creating the materials, it's often the students as well. They have something to say. And we often have such fruitful discussions. It was really interesting to discuss, for example, how Svelte is better if you're going to implement something very resource intensive, or rather not, if you're developing some application for a very weak machine, like something like ATM or something, then React will be a bit too heavy. And it's better to choose something like Svelte, because it will save you resources and then a lot of headache trying to optimize your application. So yeah, there are a lot of fruitful discussions that we have there, and it's produced by students. They come up with ideas and we discuss them and we invite guests. Awesome. Actually, our course is actually targeted to people who want to move from Russia to other countries, maybe to Europe. So I would be really glad to see you someday, if you are interested, in our Discord, maybe give a talk about open source. That would be really awesome. As you can see, we have the open source channel here. Yay, people are really interested in it. And we're trying to encourage them to
My Russian is not so good, though. Can I do it in English?
You should do it in English. Yes, of course.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
my video editor's from Ukraine, and she speaks Russian. But yeah, no, I only picked up some words, and I've even forgotten them now.
No, but I think the students will be really happy to talk to you and listen to how to contribute to open source, be maintainers, and all that. I think it would be really awesome. And it's usually super chill. It's not that we have some presentation and everything is very formal. No, we just talk. And it's
I do that now.
Be amazing.
Awesome. I do that now more often. I'm on GitHub's. I was on GitHub's Twitch channel a couple of weeks ago. I'm on their LinkedIn live stream this Friday, and they said, "Do you want to give a talk?" And I'm like, "No, I don't. I want to have a discussion with people. I think that's where the value is. There's no point me talking about like the real basics or the real in-depth, but the audience there that day might want the opposite. They want more basic or they might want more in-depth. I would rather just talk for maybe 3-4 minutes, like get the conversation going, and then let's chat. Let's have a discussion as if we're kind of, in the pub having a drink. Let's just chat.
Exactly.
And so on. So I love that. That's my go-to thing all the time now. That sounds great. Yeah, I'd love to do that. I have a couple more questions about your course. I love your course. So, I'm looking. I'm in the middle of doing one. So this is great. So I'm using the Kartra platform. So that's a separate discussion. But I'm still interested. How do you Kartra? It's
No,
it's a bit like the others to put up videos and content and so forth. But my question is, if this is like Notion is a bit like Evernote or Google Docs. I appreciate it's better, but let's just take it really
cool
simple
thing
for the moment.
is that I can very easily edit it. So if I have an error or some typo or whatever, students can highlight it and add a comment immediately. I can see them in my comments section, come here, and then fix it. There is no publish step. It's so easy to work with the material.
And how do you give them? Do you have to give each person? If I bought your course, for example, then you have to manually give me access to it?
That's the biggest problem. So if you're going to do a self-paced course, then this might not really work. Our course is cohort-based. So every time I'm gonna just copy this document, and then I will also, you see this, where it is? Not here. You see this arrow to the right. Yeah, so I'm manually putting it in front of the title, in front of the module that we are currently on. So each week I will manually move this thing.
I see. Okay.
So it's a little bit tedious. So that's the bad part about it. I think it can be automated because there is this unofficial API for Notion. It can be solved. We just decided that for now, while we're bootstrapping, it's not worth it. And it's better to just try to work on material and work with students and make sure that they're getting value out of it.
No, makes sense. I really like how you've gone cohort rather than just kind of free for all, and you're bringing them into the conversation on Discord. That's really interesting.
Because this way you get way more feedback and you can fine tune it specifically for the audience who will benefit from it the most. So this time, for example, we even changed our marketing strategy to target people a little bit more advanced programmers, because first time there were a lot of people who were struggling in the beginning. So this time we decided to try out a different approach and get people who already know a bit more. So let's see how it goes. We're still fine-tuning and experimenting and learning how this should work.
Okay. So there's a question from DC in the chat. Is it only in Russian? So to be able to join, they need to speak Russian?
Yes, for now it's only in Russian, but I plan to release an English version. I wouldn't say... I don't really think it's going to be an English version of this course. I think it will be a completely new course just based on this one. Because I'm learning. And whenever you start a new thing, even if you try to repeat the old one, you will make a new thing.
Yeah, it'll be so much better just because you've just learned so much from it. Absolutely.
Exactly.
That's really interesting. I'm going to try and release a small... I've got a big open source GitHub course in mind, but I'm thinking of releasing a small one so I can get something out quick, even for like, I don't know, $5 or something. And then that way I can just get feedback from people, and then I can do my next course. So rather than doing like, I don't know, one big 20 hours course, I thought I'll try and do like a 4 hours and then get feedback from it and do the next 4 hours. So kind of do it that way is what I'm thinking. So yeah, that's quite interesting. And can I ask, how much do you sell your course for?
Let me see.
Roughly speaking,
roughly speaking, it's 45,000 rubles. Let's actually make the calculations.
And is that for the whole cohort? Like,
yeah, it's actually not that expensive. It's just
so $600. And how long is the cohort for?
That's the thing. With this amount of money, you get access to the community for a year, and you get a recommended pace where you would finish this course in 3 to 4 months, but really you can stretch it up for a year. It's not a problem.
Okay, got you. Okay, interesting. If they want to renew for another year, can they?
Yeah, they can, but then you buy access to the... That's a good question, because we did this course, we launched this course first time this September, or last September, I think. And now it's the second launch. So I have no idea how will we handle this in the future. We'll have to discuss it with the students and how it works. And we try to grow really slowly. So every time we're not aiming to get all the audience, we're limiting it to 30 people at once, because the main goal is to learn and make educated decisions. So yeah, it's very, how do you call it? Boutique version of course.
Yes. No, I'm thinking of doing something similar as well. I thought for my kind of open source GitHub or GitHub Actions course, I've got loads of ideas around that, or even TypeScript. But I thought maybe limiting it, to maybe 100 people or 50 people, and therefore, and then every couple of months, then allow another. It won't be a cohort basis, but yeah, it's quite interesting. I mean, lots to think about. So in terms of, if we could go back to money again, so in terms of percentage out of the money you make, how much percentage wise comes from your YouTube channel, your digital course, and then your day job? Like, is 90% like your day job, 50% your day job? Like, how does the roughly work? Again, just roughly get an idea.
You can calculate what amount of money am I getting from the course, because you know that it's 600 and then 30 people at once, and then we share it with the partner. Then we also have to spend some money on marketing. So yeah, not that much for now. So majority of my money comes from the day job.
Okay.
From YouTube right now, I'm getting around $200, and
That's really good.
I'm getting roughly 1 or 2 proposals to record a sponsored video, but I'm refusing, putting them down, because most of the topics that they want to be covered there, they're not really about programming. It's about project management and different planning tools and all of that. So I'm like, will my audience be interested in that? I don't think so. So I'm just
that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. It's good that you're getting some of those in. They might not be the right ones for you yet, but yeah, that's good. Interesting. Okay.
What else? Do I have any other income? I actually used to be a teacher in some other school in Russia, but I'm not too active there anymore. Still, I'm getting some royalties from there. Not that much. Not sure. Maybe 1,000 every 2 months or 3 months, something like this.
That's still good, though. That's still good. Yeah. And what's your long-term goal? Would you like to have multiple like courses, so digital courses, so you could leave your job, and if your employers are watching, he doesn't want to leave just yet, but like, what's your like long-term goal? Would you like to do this full-time, is what I mean?
Well, ideally, yes. I actually really like teaching. It's really interesting. So first of all, I even at work, even at work, I like to conceptualize. Why did this happen? Okay. Even at work, I like to conceptualize. So if you know that something is right, why is it so? Why is this approach is better than another? I like to try to create some concepts and put into words. And sometimes it takes a bunch of attempts to explain yourself and even to understand yourself. Why do you do things the way you do them? And I think this is a big part of what a teacher does. It's often enough to just show. And in a lot of my videos, I just show what I'm doing. But sometimes you need to explain. And explaining is creating the same model that you have in your head, putting it into words, encoding it, and then it's going to be decoded properly in the student's head. And I think it's really interesting. Well, at least for me.
So do you think you have a timeline of when, do you think like this year, next year, of when you could go full time on that?
It's hard to tell. I had a lot of plans for this year. Now they're kind of, I see that I'm falling behind them. So I was going to start writing another book. I was going to launch a video course on my book by using the same materials. Now I'm basically editing the book and then launching the second cohort of the Russian course. So it's a bit different activity. Let's see how it goes. I think it's important to have a portfolio of different products if you want to be self-sustaining, and it takes some time to build them. So I'm not really planning for this to happen super soon, but maybe in a couple of years, something, I will be supporting myself using the courses as well.
Awesome. That sounds good. Sounds like you got a plan. It sounds promising. Sounds exciting. I need to, pull my finger out and get my courses done. I think I'm trying to do too many things all over the place. I don't actually I should listen to what I tell people, just, get something over the line, start adding value straight away. But I want to make my course so perfect that I just I need to just get something out. So I think making it smaller, get something out.
Sorry? Try to launch a cohort course, because it will motivate you to do it on time. So what I did with
Okay.
this course is that I had a pretty detailed outline in the beginning, but I launched
Okay.
without the materials. So first cohort, I was doing it
Interesting.
real time. So every week, and it's good, actually good because you get instant feedback from your students and you can
Yes.
fine tune it as you go. It's a lot of work. It was a lot of effort. It was 3 months of work and it was very intense. But in the end, I made a course that I knew that students were actually learning from.
True.
And also, you cannot procrastinate and you cannot be a perfectionist. You have 1 week to create material for the next week. That's it. Done. After the weeks have passed,
That's
late.
true. I don't procrastinate so much, I don't think. I just get distracted with other stuff. So I'm always really busy. Time is definitely my
That's
Achilles
exactly the
heel.
definition of procrastination.
But I've just got so many other things. My GitHub notifications, how much have they gone up to while we've been on this live stream? Oh my God, I can't even look. So it was 955 when we started this live stream. I've just passed 1,000 since we've been on this stream. So I got to go do that before dinner. No, not all of it, but at least some of them. Keep chipping
But by the
away
way,
at it.
I just realized that you also know William Justin, right?
I'm terrible with names. What's their Twitter? Can you message me in the StreamYard that a link to their?
Well, maybe now that we are beginning calling names of different people, we should actually wrap up with the stream. I hope it was very educational.
I hope you all had fun. I know I did, and I learned a lot.
Yeah,
so
I had a lot of fun. Thank you so much. And I've learned a lot.
Me too. It's what it's all about, right? Sharing and learning. Fun and education at the same time. I'm just going to show my setup one last time.
Cool. I'm finishing the broadcast. Have a nice day, evening, whatever you have. Bye, everyone. See you some next time.
Thanks for joining, everyone.